Good evening and welcome to this edition of T-360. Tonight, we talk about Tom Brady in the AFC East, this week's power rankings, and our fantasy picks for Week 6. Time to meet tonight's guest. On my right, I have Cordell Cummings. And on my left, I have a very, very sad Dolphins fan, Shane Gamet. How you doing tonight, Shane?
Not doing very well.
So let's get right to it. What's going on with your Dolphins?
Our main problem has to be the offensive line because they have let Ryan Tannehill get sacked 17 times already this season, and it's only Game 6. Another major area that we have lacked in is our defense because 3 highly paid athletes on our team, such as Cameron Wake, Ndamukong Suh, and Mario Williams, aren't playing all 4 downs, which they should be. And it also doesn't help that we change coaching staff so often. In the past 4 years, Ryan Tannehill has had 5 offensive coordinators, and that just isn't great. And especially with Brady coming back, this season is going to get a lot more difficult.
But I think the issue with the Dolphins is more so that is Ryan Tannehill. He, with the different amount of coaches, he has thrown 10 interceptions so far in 5 games. He's on pace for 21 maybe interceptions. He hasn't even he's on pace to throw 21 interceptions. Do you understand how many interceptions that is?
That is unacceptable.
He has talent. They paid big money for Sue, Mario Williams. There's no reason they should be as bad as they are. Losing to a Titans team that is horrible.
You think it's time to look for a new coach?
We just got Adam Gase, so I would like to see him develop the team a little more. I had hope in the Seattle game when we kept them to 2 points in Seattle, which is very difficult to do. We almost came back against the Patriots. We played very well those 2 games. I think we just fell off a little bit, and I think that the team just needs to work on what they're lacking with a little more. And Adam Gase needs to figure out how to create a winning team.
So they sit at the bottom of the AFC East at 1-4, as well as the Jets do.
Yes.
And it seems like interceptions is a common theme with those 2 teams.
And they're -7 in turnover differential. That's not a good combination for success. They're 28th in rushing. You go out and draft Jay Ajayi. You pick up Arian Foster, hoping to solidify the line with Laramie Tunsil in the draft. And the only thing that's succumbed to is horrible losses. That's in a division in the AFC East where you got Brady and you got a team in the Bills who's playing really well for Rex Ryan right now. They're going to be in the same predicament they are every single other year, looking for a different coach. Use your players and put them in a good position to play.
Seems to be a vicious circle.
It really is, and I think that we need to keep a coach on consistently, maybe for more than just half a season if they aren't doing well. Not every season is going to be an amazing season, but I see maybe not the best progression Ryan Tannehill has, but every year he keeps getting more and more yards. Like last year he had, I think it was 4,500 yards, and that was on pace with Tom Brady last year too.
The wins have to end up coming, though. You can't have a quarterback who gets paid a lot of money. He got a huge contract.
Yeah.
Eventually, that money has to turn to wins. You draft all these good players. You got Jarvis Landry. You end up signing a big-name tight end in Jordan Cameron. You have Ndamukong Suh. It has to be a time where you have to get the wins. The owner, new stadium, nice renovations. Eventually, it's going to be time where his clock is ticking. Tannehill's clock is ticking. You have Deshaun Watson coming in the draft. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they might have to look elsewhere, get a nice solid.
Absolutely.
I completely agree, but I also think that part of his problem is that he's been sacked 17 times already this season, which is completely unacceptable.
It's the second most in the NFL behind only Andrew Luck.
That's unacceptable. That offensive line cannot just play consistent. Has to play consistently. They can't just play good for one game and then let everybody through the next game. I think that's a big reason. He's a few of those interceptions he's been rushed and just made a bad read because he has pressure.
Well, you can't say that for Tom Brady because he's back.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that top half of the AFC East. What about Tom Brady and the Patriots?
I honestly believe, the Browns isn't much competition. They're last in a lot of defensive categories. But the fact that he comes off suspension, he's waiting for Goodell he is on the hot stove. What Tom Brady is about to do to the league, he's about to set them on fire. his ability to decipher defenses, he changed his throwing motion, and the fact that he has Martellus Bennett, a 6'6", 280-pound tight end, caught 3 touchdowns against the Browns. Add in Gronk and his health. Everything depends on Gronk's health. So, and you have a defense with Hightower, Collins. The sky's the limit for the Patriots, and I truly believe so.
I'd have to agree with you. Honestly, I think the only team in the AFC East that can even compete at this point is the Buffalo Bills, which is funny to say.
They're impressive.
They're a hot team right now, coming off of 3 wins. They just beat the LA Rams, which is a solid team. They beat them 30-17. So
they shut out the Patriots.
Sky's the limit. Yeah, absolutely.
At home, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, although they didn't have Brady, but still, they have Belichick, and what more could you ask for, really?
That coach to QB combination is something we haven't seen in our lifetime, and it's something definitely that every coach in the AFC is definitely taking note of, because when you get Brady back and you have a great coach like Coach Belichick, when they went, you have Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett. The fact that they were able to win most games, they go to Arizona and win most games, and they have a defense, shut out the Texans. The ability to put players in the right positions to be successful is something that Coach Belichick has always done well.
I also think that those young quarterbacks, Brissett, Garoppolo, it's helped them a lot studying under who is considered the greatest pocket passer of all time, who is Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
But I also would like to see Tom Brady, coming off of that 4-game suspension, go against a more formidable opponent other than the Browns to see how that actually affected him.
Cincinnati's coming up.
Yeah.
So that should be a better test.
It really should.
Yeah, it should be a shootout between Andy Dalton and Tom Brady for sure. All right, speaking of the Patriots, we know obviously with Tom Brady, they might be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. So let's get right into power rankings.
Yes, number 1, of course. If you haven't lost, you should always be number 1. Number 1, you've got the Minnesota Vikings. They are now 5-0. Backup quarterback, backup running back. You got Sam Bradford, and you got AP that's gone, as well as Teddy Bridgewater. Their defense is playing the best we have seen probably since the Legion of Boom started in Seattle. Number 2, we have, surprisingly, the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Yes, big shocker. But as of right now, as of how good teams are playing right now, Dallas have to come in at number 2. Dak is managing the game. You let your offensive line do what it's paid to do. Let the big hogs block for you.
They're really doing it, especially for Ezekiel Elliott.
Absolutely, and you get Tony Romo back.
Yes. So Jerry Jones
has
a big
spot
decision to make. He has to figure out whether he wants to go with the old timer, more experienced. I believe they have a better shot at winning the Super Bowl if they was to ever get there. If they was to get there with Tony Romo, more so than Dak Prescott.
But I feel like Dak Prescott is more consistent than Tony Romo in the fact that he plays and is not as accident prone as Tony Romo is. It seems every year Tony Romo gets hurt and leaves them struggling. And with Dak Prescott, we haven't seen that yet.
But it also seems with Dak Prescott that you don't utilize Des Bryant to his full potential.
That is true.
Yes. Dak Prescott, before last game, he had 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. He didn't have any picks, but 1 touchdown in the whole season. Right now, that sounds good. You're managing the game, but there comes a time where you have to give Des the ball when he gets back on the field, throw outside the numbers, and utilize your speed and your athletes to the best of their ability.
That's what you're paying him for.
Eventually, they're going to put 8 in the box and force them to throw.
I also think that comes with experience. He is a rookie quarterback. NFL is different than college. He has to learn where his weapons are and how to utilize them effectively. Right now, he's utilizing Ezekiel Elliott very effectively. Yep. And I think that's part of the reason they're winning.
Yeah, and I would argue that the best running back in the league is actually Le'Veon Bell, and that's who comes in at number 4. The Pittsburgh Steelers, their offense is prolific. As long as Big Ben stays healthy, I don't see a team besides maybe the Patriots and Broncos, depending on who has home field advantage, beating the Steelers.
They arguably have the best wide receiver and the best running back in the game.
And their defense maybe need to be shored up, but their offense, you have to at least score 30 points to beat them.
I really like the way Big Ben is playing lately. In the past few years, there are some games he's on, some games he's off, but it seems this year, almost every game he has been on, and I really enjoy watching that.
And number 5, I have the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
Yeah, because they
surprising at 4-1.
Yeah, they beat 2 Super Bowl teams that won the Super Bowl last year. They beat the Broncos and the Panthers. Now, the Panthers, they aren't as good as they used to be, But when you take into account the fact that their defense no matter what, is really, really
Absolutely, Luke Kuechly is.
good. Yep. And you almost you go to Denver, you beat Denver. Although Julio was quiet in the game, he didn't have much production. But the fact that you went to Denver, a pretty tough place to play, and beat the Broncos at home, albeit without their starter. Without their starter. But the thing is, with Atlanta, how good is their defense?
But I think that the reason Julio was so quiet is because after that 300-yard game, everybody's like, he's a major target. We need to keep him quiet.
And that's beneficial for Denver, saying, okay, how are we able to key on the receiver, the best player on the opposite team, and take him away? And that's what they did.
And they did a really great job in doing that.
All right, so let's get into our fantasy picks for Week 6. We got some big matchups coming up.
Yes, and I say start Marcus Mariota.
Wow.
Start him versus the Cleveland Browns. You see what Tom Brady did to him after 4 weeks in? Now, he's not comparable. But taking into account this, the Browns are giving up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. And as well, you're coming off a 3-touchdown performance against the Dolphins. And the run game should set up the pass.
I think you start almost anyone against the Browns, to be honest with you.
Pretty much everyone.
Except, Miami's defense.
If you have a kicker, probably start him too.
Yeah, if you have a kicker throwing the ball, I'd start him against the Browns for sure.
And sitting, I have Julio Jones.
Really?
Yes, he's going against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are they're coming around. The Legion of Boom, people wasn't scared of them that much, but they are coming around.
I saw Richard Sherman tested a couple weeks ago for the first time since last year. He wasn't tested that much because everybody knows what he's capable of, and then he goes out, first time he's tested, and gets 2 interceptions, which is very impressive.
Yeah. And Seattle's defense, Jarvis Landry, the first week, held to 59 yards, 0 TDs. Kenny Britt in the second game, where scoring was hard to come by in that game. 6 catches for 94 yards, 0 TDs. San Francisco only threw for 119 yards the whole game. And Brandon Marshall was held to 4 catches on 12 targets for 89 yards and 1 TD. So you take that into account, and Julio Jones, although he may get targets, they're away from Atlanta. And when Atlanta goes away from their home field, they are a total different team. So if they had the home field advantage, maybe something different. But I say sit Julio Jones.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how those picks play out. Well, tonight we end our show with some very premature Super Bowl picks. Cordell, I'm going to start with you. As of Week 5, what 2 teams do you think have the best opportunity to make it all the way?
As of Week 5, pencil in the Vikings versus the Patriots.
The 5-0 Vikings versus the 4-1 Patriots?
Tom Brady is a difference maker there. I believe he'll be able to get past Denver and Pittsburgh. And I believe that the fact that Pittsburgh cannot stop Tom Brady is the difference.
And you think Sam Bradford will do enough to get the Vikings there?
I believe Sam Bradford will be like a Trent Dilfer from
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens.
Doesn't have to do
defense,
much.
And you get AP back in
Absolutely.
past Week 9, sort of, so he should be fine.
Shane, what about you?
I agree with you in the Vikings, but I disagree with you with the Patriots. I think the Steelers are going to go because they're looking very impressive this season.
Absolutely. They're putting up a lot of points. Their offense is unreal. All right, that is all the time we have tonight. I'm Dan Daly. Thank you for watching.